What is going on, everyone? Tim from Tirfon Orbital. So this video is going to serve as a demo video for an install commission that I completed for a customer on a Korbanth Jacen Solo. This is the Jacen Solo from Korbanth. Very, very nice looking hilt. I did set this up with a removable chassis, so we are going to come into Fusion and talk about that. I did a little bit of an interesting locking mechanism or clocking mechanism for this one because, I say this all the time, because this control box is so low, you've got to figure out what you're going to do with your switch situation for a removable chassis, and to do that you need to have the chassis be clockable essentially. So I want to talk about that when we come into Fusion and talk about this chassis, which we are going to do right now. Let's come into Fusion. All right, so here is the chassis system that I did for the Korbanth Jacen Solo. Okay, removable chassis. We've got greebly work on both sides of the chassis itself. These are the indentations for the switches. This was a little bit tricky with all of this spacing, right? Because we also have some lenses on the outside of the hilt for shine through. All right, and getting these switches here, as well as these lenses, while also allowing for room for wire management, was a little tricky. All right, so we have two brass hat tactile switches here. Then I have two micro neopixels here to give us some shine through in those lenses. All right, 28mm speaker down here. Here is our battery tray, and I also added two rectangular LEDs as well to this chassis. Now the chassis clocks into the upper part of the hilt through this upper PCB holder. All right, I've got these two little nubbins that fit into the chassis side and help it to clock in the correct orientation. All right, this PCB holder is held in place with a single set screw in the upper part of the hilt. So that is how I resolved the clocking situation with this hilt. There was nothing on the inside of this hilt to give us some clocking. Like, there were no screws, the switches don't protrude onto the inside of the hilt. So I had to make up a different solution, and that's what I did with this one, right? And of course, we've got our kill switch here. All right, Proffieboard is around back, slides up underneath this lip, then pulls forward into these forks, and that is it. Nice and quick. Let's come up top. All right, so here it is. This is the Jacen Solo from Korbanth Lightsabers, as the blade plug almost flies out of it. All right, so here it is. All right, very nice hilt. So as I mentioned, not a lot going on here as far as being able to clock the chassis on the inside of the hilt. So I had to create that upper PCB holder, right? These are your switches inside of this control box. Obviously, there's a battery in this already. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take this chassis out. So unthread your pommel. Here is the chassis. Okay, I did this in PLA. This has been printed in PLA, and then I gave it the pewter rub and buff treatment. All right, there are those two neopixel, micro neopixels. Those are their own blades in the config, and then you have two rectangular LEDs that are their own blade in the config. All right, as this Proffieboard slides out of where it's supposed to be. So if you do want to work on your Proffieboard, you can slide this forward and pull it up, and that's how you get to your SD card and your USB port. And then when you're done, just slide it forward into those forks. Okay. This will take a button top 18650 battery, protected. Spring side is your negative, that is down towards the speaker. So go ahead and put your battery in. Okay. And you're good to go. Once you have your battery in, you're ready to put the chassis in the hilt. So take note of these little nubbins that are at the bottom or the top of the hilt, okay? And that is what will help clock it into the correct orientation. So you can kind of rotate it to find where those holes are, all right? And then you can thread your pommel in place until it stops, and you're ready to go, okay? So there are those two lenses that are lit. Your blade emitter is lit, and then your switches, all right? So this bottom switch is your main. Top will serve as your activation, okay, or aux rather. All right, and that is it. Let's come down to the bottom. Okay, so there are those lit lenses. Very cool to have like lit lenses on the outside of the hilt, right? But again, you've just got to figure out a way to line up your chassis so those work. Okay, let's go ahead and put a blade in it. All right, so this will take a 1-inch blade. Go ahead and rest your blade on those PCB pins. Very shallow. Actually, it's not too shallow. It's not that bad. I've seen worse, right? With thin necks, you usually get a very shallow blade depth, all right? There are 3 set screws around the circumference of this emitter. I went ahead and backed all of those out. Put your blade in, and you can tighten them. You can tighten 2 of them. All right? And then you're ready to go. Okay? All right. Scroll through a couple fonts.
I'm a Jedi.
Very nice feeling hilt. Control box is nice and low so it doesn't kill your grip. Okay. All right. Let's do one more.
Jacen Solo.
Okay. So that's a nice quick demo video on the Jacen Solo from Korbanth. Okay, this one was a lot of fun to do. I always like figuring out solutions for like chassis solutions, especially for thin necks like this, right? So anyhow, to you, the customer, thank you very much for your support. If anyone has any questions about this particular hilt or anything really, please do not be a stranger. And with that being said, may the force be with you always. Have a good one, everybody.